Hey everybody, welcome to Hit Rewind. This episode we're going back to 1965, picking four films. I'm with Jacob. How's it going?
Hey everybody, it's just dandy out here. Tis the first day of October.
It's awfully warm. Yeah, it's I was sweating it. How hot is it out there?
Oh, it's only like what, 76? It's actually
Okay.
not bad.
Yeah, it was around 78, I think, today here, but that's weird for Indiana. It's normal for Napa. The so of the four films, which ones have you seen before, or are they all new to you?
Okay, the only one that was new, well, two of them were new to me. Robin and the Four Hoods and My Good Neighbor Sam.
Okay.
Of
Um,
course, my
Doctor.
dad being a Western fan, yeah, no. Fistful of Dollars was something I'd seen quite a bit.
Yeah, and Doctor Strangelove was new to me. You're the one that told me, like, yeah, it's pretty good. You should grab it. It's one of those. There's a weird fad in the 60s and early 70s where these serious dramatic actors started tackling wacky comedies. And it's all because of the movie we discussed in our last episode, It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, because Stanley Kramer was known for very highbrow, very artistic, challenging movies that usually won awards, and he just does a Mad, 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 Mad World, and it makes a fuck ton of cash. And I brought up the fact that while I enjoy the spectacle, I don't particularly find it all that funny. There's only two or three scenes that work for me, which is little for a 3-hour movie. Now, here's the thing about Doctor Strangelove. I appreciate it. I understand. Like, now reflecting upon it, I get it. But when I was watching it, for some reason, I had in my head Peter Sellers, wacky comedy, legendary. I thought it was going to be a lot sillier than it was. It's very dry.
Oh god, most definitely. And to think for that, for General Ripper, the antagonist of the film,
Yeah.
to absolutely just go crazy and make the first attack against Russia all because of a stupid conspiracy theory about fluoride in the water.
Yeah, it's played by Sterling Hayden plays the general, and he is notorious like for film noir and westerns and stuff like that. Really dead serious movies. So he sells it. And the funny thing is, almost everybody in this is known for their serious acting. So it's kind of bizarre seeing this. How do I explain? Because someone gave me shit for not finding it funny, and I'm not saying it's a bad movie. It's just for some reason in my head I expected a different kind of comedy, and it wasn't until I got to the last 20 minutes I started to line up with it. And I feel like I need to go back and watch it again. But it's a very, very dry black comedy.
Oh no, absolutely, hands down. Oh god, George C. Scott in particular. Of course, like being the main advisory for counteracting the nuclear strike. Oh, geez, like how is that, typical all-American, Catholic guy pretty much hates anything outside what he serves. I mean, hell, even with the Russian ambassador, he was calling Gorbachev a freaking atheist, freaking commie, and this and that. But it's like, okay, it's like, whatever. It's like, atheist is like, is it really that bad?
It's so weird.
All the insults he had to hurl around.
Yeah, it's his performance is very interesting because a lot of it's facial features. He's really frustrated. He's really confused. He just trying to rationalize what the fuck is happening. That
Yeah.
I found amusing. I just didn't find it laugh out loud funny. And here's the thing: is I love Peter Sellers in particular roles. Of course, Professor Clouseau being the big one, but sometimes like Will Ferrell or Johnny Depp, guys who are known for very particular kind of acting, you need to steer them in the right direction. And I don't like his Doctor Strangelove character. I think it's fucking bizarre. I think it's irritating. I do not find it funny. All that weird mechanism shit with his hand. What the fuck is that? Is the character in... Now, I've never seen the original Frankenstein, so I'm probably just wrong here. But Young Frankenstein, do you remember the guy with the mechanical hand that keeps moving around like crazy? Is that a spoof of Doctor Strangelove and not Frankenstein?
Okay, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it was a nod to Doctor Strangelove.
Okay, because it's
that was the case.
Yeah, it's such so unusual. But he does the same kind of character. The next year in What's New Pussycat, he plays like this German psychologist or whatever, and he's not funny. It's just irritating. Oh
my god!
But that's just me.
Oh no! And then of course you have the plane sequences too, as they're going to drive into Russia and pretty much bomb those targets. You have he's from Blazing Saddles as well.
Oh, Slim Pickens.
Yeah, that's what it is. Slim Pickens. God, that should be such an easy name to remember. But Slim Pickens, just like their little announcements going over all the plans and details of this said situation. Just the way he again, just uses that particular accent of his. It just makes the dialogue all the more funny.
Yeah, it's funny. Well, and I was a little disappointed because his is a little more serious and grounded for most of his performance, and I'm just used to seeing him really wacky and wild.
Oh no, absolutely. Oh god, up until that very end, where the bomb bay doors open while he's trying to fix some stuff.
I'm looking at this here, and it says Columbia Pictures agreed to finance the film if Peter Sellers played at least 4 major roles, which is a really fucking strange thing to ask. Like, that's very particular.
Yeah, no, I mean, he plays the president in the United States. He plays, the British major. I forget his name.
Right, yeah, the Mandrake. His was my favorite of the 3, because the president's too dry and the Strangelove is too fucking bizarre. Trying to think who else is in this. And we get the debut of James Earl Jones as one of the co-pilots.
Yeah, that's right. He was one of the operators. Yes.
Yeah, but I just don't think that Kubrick and comedy go together. I feel like this could have been a completely different movie. But yes, I know it's sacrilege, but guess what? I'm the one that pisses in the pool. I'm sorry.
Say what you will. I mean, all directors are open to criticism.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I need to come back to this later, like I said, and revisit it and maybe see it from a different perspective now that I'm not expecting a wacky comedy.
Right. But, I mean, as far as it goes for the character of Dr. Strangelove himself, I'm like, I don't know. I'm here for the bizarre and the weird and the goofy.
His alien hand syndrome.
That too. Or basically like his repopulation strategy, 10 females to each male.
Well, theoretically that would work.
Oh god, yeah, no, that's fucking nuts.
What is our second film?
Second film, Fistful of Dollars, a Clint Eastwood classic based off of an old Japanese film named Yojimbo.
Yeah, and we had discussed a different version of it not that long ago. I think like 3 or 4 months ago, called I just forgot. Last Man Standing with Bruce Willis.
Yes.
That's
what it was.
And those two films are very similar. Here's the thing: is Fistful of Dollars hit like a fucking freight train when it finally got released. It was released in Italy in '64, where it was a sensation, but it didn't come out till '66 in America, and it was literally like, okay, so Fistful of Dollars, then 6 months later we got a few dollars more, and then 6 months later we got Good and Bad and the Ugly. So it was really close in America. So he became a sensation in '66, not when these movies came out. And so that's why you kind of see like he's only doing these 3 movies until I think '68 he gets Coogan's Bluff. I think it's '68 or something like that, and then Where Eagles Dare. And it literally changed everything. And I'm not just talking Clint Eastwood's career. I'm not talking about just spaghetti westerns. I'm talking about the western period, because '66 is kind of you're on the verge of collapse for the studios. They're spending too much money. They're not bringing enough in. They're battling with TV, and all of a sudden, out of fucking nowhere, these independent movies are making tons of money. No, it didn't make like Easy Rider kind of money, where that was like the $300,000 movie that made I think $30 million, and then all of a sudden everybody said, "Hey, we got to try more serious stuff." But $6 million for the first movie is nothing to scoff at, especially when I bet you MGM acquired it for like $100,000 or something. And
right.
And all the studios kind of dabbled in spaghetti westerns, but UA and MGM or whatever, they dabbled the most. They, I would say, 75% of the spaghetti westerns that were released on a wider, instead of just grindhouses, were all from that company, and it's all because they made so much bank with this trilogy.
Oh no, absolutely. I mean, you can see the appeal of it too, and I mean, and particularly, Clint Eastwood, like he ended up just like bringing in the audience.
Yeah, I mean, he was just a TV actor at the time. I think he only got like $25,000 for the first movie. Rawhide had basically dried up for him, And he was like, well, what do I do now? And, you know, he never, his career didn't take off when he was a universal player. He was always just doing like cameos and short bits. After this, I don't think he's ever done a supporting role. I think from this point, he is always the star. He's always number one on the list.
Yeah, no, if he's not behind the camera, he's always in front of it. And
is he the longest career as an A-lister? I mean, you're talking 64 to now. I mean, he has one movie left in him, which he's just going to direct. And I still count that. If your name as a director sells the film, then it's still, you know, you're still the A-list. And because people find out a film directed by Clint Eastwood, that gets people's attention.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
Maybe the most famous actor to become a director? I'm trying to think of anybody else that got bigger, and I can't.
Yeah, no, I can't. It's hard for me to think of right now, too.
Maybe 30 years from now, Jordan Peele. But, you know, we're talking Eastwood's been at it since 71. So it's really interesting. Plus, all the Westerns from this point on are basically turning into, you have like, still the fantasy kind of stuff. You know, there's the TV movies and there's the stuff like Dean Martin and directed by Andrew McLaughlin. His stuff is light and fluffy. But then you had the darker, grittier stuff. And not just this, but like Bonnie and Clyde, which we'll discuss sometime down the road. They're changing film. It's getting bloodier. It's getting grittier. People are going back, and they're not basing it so much on legends. They're trying to find the reality in these stories. So it's not beautiful and massive score and huge cinematography. You know, it's like, well, what really happened here?
Right. Yeah. It almost seemed like there was a hyperfixation. A fixation on hyper-violence in cinema around that time.
Well, it's not just that, though, is that it wasn't, you know, the John Wayne kind of Western. Well, even John Wayne Westerns changed because he did the Cowboys and the Shootist, where those were darker stories where he died, and they were much bloodier. There was a time when I was crazy about spaghetti Westerns, and now as I get older, I kind of get nauseated by the extreme violence and the nihilism.
Yes.
Sergio Leone movies were difficult and violent, but they rode the line higher than just being like grim trash.
Oh yeah, and then of course there's like the little goofy aspects to it. You know, like how the person could be shot from this range by that particular rifle.
Yeah.
And of course the little over dramatization of when they die.
Yeah, well, and then you have different ways of filming it too, because extreme close-ups and then the texture of the sets, they were muddy and gross, and the action sequences were flashier. He really changed the language, not just for Westerns, but I think a lot of action movies really started to take that too.
Oh, yeah, no, I mean, honestly, you can definitely see it, like, as more came out later on.
Yeah, it's funny because, this and Dirty Harry are probably the two most pivotal movies of his career, but also like really pivotal for their genres.
Oh shoot! You know, honestly, looking back and thinking about it, you definitely have a point there.
Yeah, because I just keep thinking like the cop movie barely existed by the time Dirty Harry came around. You had Bullet and French Connection, but that was about it. And then Westerns were completely different before this one. So you may not like spaghetti Westerns, but this is kind of a requirement. It's a familiar story and it was ripped off many times, but I think it's kind of pivotal to Westerns. Like you just, at least once, just see this movie.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're familiar with this storyline, you know, bounty hunter playing both sides of these rival gangs in this town, you know, basically, you know, an opportunist looking out for himself till, you know, an innocent gets involved, then they have a change of heart.
Yeah, there's a sword and sorcery version of this in 1984, I think, with David Carradine called The Warrior and the Sorceress. It's basically the same plot, but it's really trashy and it's pretty entertaining, I gotta say.
Yeah, no, honestly, when it came to sword and sorcery, it was honestly, unless it was like Conan, yeah, it was tough to get right.
Yeah, there's very few movies that had the budget to get it. Yeah, sword sorcery. Woo. It's like getting a good werewolf movie. It's pretty rare. What is our next film?
Okay, next film is Robin and the Seven Hoods.
Yeah, go ahead.
Pretty much starring the entire Rat Pack.
Yeah, I think it's the best of the group because so there's Ocean's 11, which is the big one. That one was a huge hit. But I think it's a little stodgy, a little stiff. I think the remake is much better. But then we had, I think, Sergeant's 3, which cannot figure out if it's a serious drama or a comedy, and it never really works. It's about the cavalry. There's 4 for Texas, which has Dean and Frank, and I think a cameo by Sammy. But this one's kind of getting the whole group, for the most part, back together. And this is the one with like a big budget, lots of fun. It's taking the classic Robin Hood story and setting it in the Roaring *20s
Prohibition era.
Yeah. So we have the main 3 guys. We have Bing Crosby.
Yes. Great addition. Peter Falk.
Right. And I think Edward G. Robinson is in this one. I think so.
Yes. Edward Pressman as well.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's gorgeous to look at. I mean, this is one of those comedies that was shot super wide, which wasn't very common back then, but good Lord, they filled the screen.
Oh, no, definitely. Oh, God, yes. I mean, I loved like the sets that they had built to replicate the scenery of Chicago, especially within that time.
Yeah.
And again, all the clothing. I mean, heck, even the little casinos or the little gambling rooms that they had set up. Oh, those are beautiful to look at.
Yeah, it's just, God, it's such a gorgeous movie. And the songs are great. My Kind of Town, it came from this movie. There's one that I like a lot where Sammy Davis Jr. is kind of doing like a dance number around the casino.
Yes.
And I'm the Crimeville, bang, bang.
Yes. Oh, God. Honestly, if I were to pick a favorite of the Rat Pack or whoever was the most talented, best voice, that's arguable, but most talented, I would have to give it to Sammy Davis Jr.
Yeah, all around. So Frank has the best voice. I think Dean is the best actor. I mean, he just has a very smooth, wonderful voice. The problem with Sammy and why he's not as well remembered is because he didn't get this. These songs back in the day were usually sold to Frank first, and then to Dean, and then Bing, and whatever. And then Sammy was like on the next tier down, so he never really got the big hits. But good Lord, that man is an entertainer. And I think go ahead.
Oh, no, I was disagreeing. I was going to say absolutely.
It's just kind of a shame that that he didn't get the select choice. And when he did do good songs, a lot of them were covers. So when people are like, yeah, I love that song, but they don't identify it as a Sammy Davis song.
Something's got to give I identify as a Sammy Davis Jr. song.
Well, Candyman, I think, is probably the most famous for our generation.
No, I'll definitely have to look that one up then.
You know, the Candyman can... No?
Oh, is that the one? That almost sounds like the one from Willy Wonka.
It might be. One. Hold on. Let me... I think it might be from that.
Yeah. But I will say, I mean, Sammy Davis, he could act. He definitely did. Oh, no, especially when they were, like, trying to pretend that they were a church and they switched out the room.
Yeah.
Instead of speakeasy. Just the way he was trying to play off as that character. But as soon as he kind of talking slang, he's like, "Who that? I mean, who's that?" Oh man! And again, yeah, he's again fantastic dancer. The way he lit up that room, honestly, he had the best musical number in that entire film.
What year did Willy Wonka come out? Oh, it is. The Candyman is from Willy Wonka. I've never seen Willy Wonka, so I didn't know. I know.
You're kidding.
I know. I've never seen it.
Oh, damn.
It will come up on the show because they did pick it up. I don't know. For some reason, I just never thought of watching it. Maybe the Oompa Loompas freaked me out.
Well, hey, man. At least you still got it, and you're gonna watch it soon.
I'm not gonna watch that fucking remake though. Sweet Jesus, no. I mean, not the one, the Wonka. I'm talking about the one with Johnny Depp.
Oh yeah, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah, I didn't like it at all. It was, ugh. Yeah. So this one's a lot of fun. It's really right in the pocket of high budget, high quality musicals. Because of course musicals would start to collapse within the next few years. What is our next film?
Okay, our next one. This was the first for me, and I think it was definitely a close second of the bunch. My Good Neighbor Sam. Jack Lemmon.
It made money at the time, but no one talks about this movie. I found this on VHS about 15 years ago, And I was like, this is really silly. It feels like it's stage bound. I didn't look to see if it was based on a play.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt regarding it too. I was like, oh, this has to be a play.
This is absolutely at his peak of talents. And what the story is, because you probably never heard of this movie, is so he has a neighbor who just moved in, and she's divorced. She is in the process of divorcing her husband, but then finds out that she's not going to get all this money because she has to stay married, and through some sort of weird loophole, because her family is spying on her, she has to pretend to be married to the guy next door, Sam. So he has to balance out his job, which is now putting him in a new promotion, his new fake wife, and then his real home life, and constantly it's a screwball comedy. It's like the way Noises it's crazy in the way Noises Off is. You know, there's lots of sight gags and running around like lunatics.
Oh, absolutely. God, yes. It was just absolutely nuts. And luckily, that neighbor is his wife's best friend.
Yeah, because it could have.
So, I mean, of course, yeah. And when the plan goes through, she's going to offer them like $1 million, and it's like, well, they're just doing it to help her out anyway. But, I mean, hey, if they're going to get $1 million out of it, all right.
Yeah, and so yeah, he gets promoted as a job because they're looking for something. I think Edward G. Robinson is in this one too. Shit.
Yeah, he just wasn't happy with what the advertising company was putting out, like to push his eggs. He wanted clean cut, normal families. No, this sex sell stuff.
Yeah,
which,
yeah.
Of course, in advertisement it does, but he doesn't want that image. He's very prudish and just kind of uptight about it. And then, of course, yeah, when they come across Jack Lemmon's like, what? Normal people just want to buy your products. Whether or not it's, a family or this or that, just normal people.
Yeah.
And then that's how he ends up getting the job. And then, of course, he has to put on this show for Edward G. Robinson to come off like he's that, normal family man with, his pretend wife.
Yeah,
neighbor.
and then one of his neighbors is his coworker, and he's like, "Are you cheating on your wife with your neighbor?" And they're trying to hide it, whatever. So it's always like trying to make sure you say the right thing at the right time, and people move it. It's really wild.
Oh yeah,
and
absolutely.
And then there's a whole thing with his advertising. They don't pick actors; they pick them. And so their billboards are all over town, but then they have to go and ruin those billboards because then they'll find out that it's just the initial lose the money, and it's coming right down to the wire, and they're running around like lunatics in the middle of the night. The problem is he becomes so entrenched in this because he's going to get like $100,000 of it that he nearly destroys his own marriage, and it's really interesting like how I wish that had played out a little bit better. Because she's like, I'm going to leave because you're so obsessed with this. And I really thought there'd be more repercussions. And all of a sudden she's just like, oh, it's fine. Fuck it. And I was like, oh, that's not how that should have ended.
Yeah. No, she's like, yeah, I had nowhere else to go. And, yeah, of course, yeah, luckily that them being best friends and that they're just really trying to help each other out. Like, you get that point, but it's like, damn, how long could they keep that up?
Yeah.
Especially when, oh, gosh. I forget the actress's name.
The neighbor or his wife?
The neighbor.
Romy Schneider, who is unbelievably adorable. Holy shit.
Absolutely. Romy Schneider, yeah. The actual husband comes along seeking her out. Of course, he has no idea about the money at first. And, of course, Romy Schneider doesn't believe it. And then he has to pretend to be married to Jack Lemmon's wife.
Yeah. I forgot about that. And that crazy sculpture he's obsessed with, which is just a ridiculous nightmare.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, in the movie, you kind of establish that. He works at the advertising firm, but he's bored with it. He's like, we go here every day. We're like sheep. And then, of course, when he looks at people in the car next to him, he sees them as sheep in his imagination.
Oh, yeah, that was really good. I liked it, yeah. It's really interesting is I didn't realize who wrote this book. It's not a play, it's a book, and it's written by the guy who wrote, I kid you not, Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Wildly different films.
Yeah, good God. I'm like, well, I mean, at least he's dependable in more than one genre.
So, the reason why this movie looks so good is because the director came from Disney. He was an animator. And then he moved on to doing live action. So he did The Parent Trap and Pollyanna, then this, and then with How to Succeed in Business Without Really Trying, which I can't wait for you to see. And then just kind of faded away after that. Went back to TV and then just,
Yeah, Yeah, no, it's a damn shame because I felt like this would be definitely a good classic, and the way it has those like cartoonish elements makes a whole lot more sense.
Yeah, it's kind of like the way the guy that did Frank Tashlin, who worked with Jerry Lewis so much, he brought such a strong visual style to his movies as well that were cartoons like looking.
Oh, especially with the the nightmare sequence where he's wearing where Jack Lemmon's wearing ex-husband's pajamas, and then she ends up screaming in the middle of the night because he tries to kiss her.
Oh yeah.
And then like not only the neighborhood but his boss, like the egg farm owner, calling him a deviant and this and that.
Yeah.
Everybody's just showing up to see him get arrested.
Well, and it's funny is that this is another movie that's really long, like surprisingly long considering.
Oh yeah, no. Again, back then I never expected movies to be that long. But as you mentioned, like having to compete with TV and whatnot, kind of makes more sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, no. This is a wholeheartedly enjoyable film from beginning to end. And again, the visuals, the cinematography, especially with the wide shots of San Francisco back in the day, absolutely love looking at it.
So that is it for 1964, and that is it for the end of the year because Jacob is going to be drowning in work for a while.
Oh yeah, but hey, I'll be making extra money, so that helps out a lot.
All right, everybody,
my God, I'll be tired.
What's that?
I said, my God, I'll be tired.
So usually end of December, January, whatever, he's ready. We'll be back. We'll be kicking ass with 1965. So thank you, everybody, and have a good one.
Namaste and good luck, everybody. Be excellent to each other.
And stay groovy, man. Get a martini. Hey, Pally.